Since Hearthstone's United and Stormwind Expansion is releasing on August 3rd, some decks in the Hearthstone meta right now won't be nearly as playable when that expansion comes out. So if you want that one last experience with the Forged in the Barrens meta, then make sure you watch this whole video because I'm going over 4 free-to-play Hearthstone decks that will probably lose all viability when the United and Stormwind Expansion comes out. Starting with the deck archetype we haven't seen in a while, it's LIFESTEAL Demon Hunter. LIFESTEAL Demon Hunter isn't the best name for this deck because at its core, it's really an OTK deck. The OTK is super fun to pull off, so let's see how we do it. So first, you're gonna need Il'gynoth. And yes, I know I said free to play, but this is the only legendary you'll need for this deck. You little bit. After that, you hit him with the Morag Artificer for the double dip damage, and after that, you can either double dip again with another Morag Artificer, or use a Talented Arcanist for an extra shot of spell damage. Finally, use your lifesteal cards to deal that OTK damage. What I love about this deck is that sure, you have your main OTK with Fellscream Blast, but you've also got I-Beam and Eldrazi Warblades for your OTK. So, if you're like me and have commitment issues, then this OTK gives you just the right amount of options to stray away from monogamy. If your opponent is trying to move things a little too quickly, then you can even use your OTK pieces to deal with the board and heal a bit. You have lots of options like Philosophy for copying too, so it's very unlikely you'll run out of options. Oh, but what happens if I go against Warrior and they have armor? And my answer to that is, just be careful because this deck struggles with dealing with big wide boards. But with all the aggro decks right now, I think he'll be alright. Speaking of aggro decks, this deck sucks against them. My bet is that no Minion Mage is getting the axe in the next expansion because I just had a feeling. You just gotta trust me here, okay? This deck has 2 nerfs already, which is weird if you ask me because this deck is extremely straightforward. You want Incanter's Flow and Font of Power, and when you get that in the early game, this deck is practically unstoppable. Unless it's against an aggro deck, in that case you might as well just concede. I'm really just trying to drive in the point here, okay? This deck has more explosive damage than your nearest adult film set, so get ready to finish on what am I saying? Basically, this deck is a control deck killer, so if you like being antisocial and not interacting with your opponent, and instead screeching at them while they're cluelessly sitting there, you'll be fine. I like putting Cthulhu in the deck, but you really don't need to. It's just there because it corrupts Ring Toss. You can also put Deck of Lunacy in there, but if you do that, I will personally go to your house, adopt you, probably spend a year to get to know you, have some good times, and then just own you because you deserve that sort of heartbreak. Also, Deck of Lunacy just sometimes makes your deck worse, but if you like me, go for it. I'm not stopping you. But we've already been through so much together that I need to confess something. All of these decks have a sub 50% win rate. So if you like to at least have fun while losing to Elemental Shaman, then play these decks instead. Hey, speaking of sub, you should subscribe if you're enjoying this video. I, the dog, Chow Pow, yes, trust me, I don't understand it either, have lots of fun Hearthstone guides, decks, and other fun videos on my channel. So if that's what you need in your life, then I hope to see you around the community. But maybe you don't like the community and prefer to go rogue. I'm a genius. Then you should try out this Poison Road deck, which I can't say for sure it's going to be relevant or irrelevant because when I started this video, the rogue cards haven't been released yet. Oops. There are no legendaries in this deck, so enjoy snorting out that leftover dust you saved. The deck is simple. You build an insanely good weapon with your poisons and hopefully put it on Swine Touch Shank, and then you go face. Or you can be like me and add only one of those because you're too lazy to craft another one. Now that I'm thinking about it, you can probably run a similar deck with only Self-Sharpening Sword and some aggressive minions. So if you want to try that out, let me know how it goes in the comments. This is the cheapest deck, so don't be afraid to add whatever you want to make yourself happy while playing it. But this next deck is something else. If you're tired of playing Elemental Shaman, then why not play one of my own creations, Elemental Mage. You might look at this and wonder, wow, why are there so many legendaries? And the answer to that is, Mancreek is free, you should got Gnarlex free from the mini set, you don't need a lot, you should got Janus a few months ago from the Skullman's promotion, and Kazakus you kind of need it, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, if you can only afford to put one, put Janus or Kazakus in there. Preferably both. If you play Rogue, Janus is really good, and Kazakus is good for Paladin. But if you somehow have all the cards, then let's start talking about the deck. It's a typical mid-range deck with a Grand Finale and Primordial Protector finish. If you play one elemental the turn before you play Grand Finale, it turns into an 8 mana 16/16 worth of stats, so keep that in mind. Trick Totem is totally necessary for the deck, and if you don't add it, you've committed a crime against your people and you must be expelled. But maybe those decks weren't enough for you. And if they weren't, then you should subscribe and check out this video right here because I've got lots of fun Hearthstone videos on my channel and a lot more coming your way. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you around.